Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the latest earnings report from the medical device powerhouse, Insulet. And let me tell you, they've been on an absolute tear. Their end-of-year results give us a fantastic look into not just their performance, but their whole strategy for dominating the diabetes tech space. So, let's get right into it.
So the big story here, the thing you really need to grasp, isn't just about one good quarter. It's about a whole decade of relentless growth. To kick things off, let's just look at a statement from Insulet's president and CEO, Ashley McEvoy, that really sets the stage perfectly.
I mean, think about that for a second. This quote just highlights the sheer consistency of their performance. In the super fast-moving world of medtech, growing by over 20% for a single year is pretty impressive. But to do it for 10 years straight? Wow. That is a powerful, powerful statement about their business, their products, and the incredible demand for their Omnipod tech. Let's just let that number sink in for a moment. 10 years. This is not a flash in the pan, right? This is a track record that points to a deep, sustainable advantage. We're talking about a level of execution that's just incredibly rare, and it really speaks volumes about their long-term strategy.
Okay, so a decade of growth is the big headline. But how did they actually cap off the year? Let's break down the hard numbers from their fourth quarter and their full year 2025 results.
So, in just the final 3 months of 2025, Insulet pulled in nearly $784 million in revenue. That is a massive 29% jump compared to the same time last year if you strip out the effects of currency changes. I mean, that's just huge.
And that really strong fourth quarter, it pushed their total 2025 revenue past $2.7 billion. To give you some perspective on that, it means they've more than doubled their entire business in just the last 3 years. Incredible. And it wasn't just about revenue. They also delivered big time on the bottom line, beating Wall Street's earnings per share expectations by 7 cents. They posted $1.55 per share when everybody was forecasting $1.48.
So you get the picture, right? The crucial point here is that when you put it all together, Insulet didn't just meet expectations, they pretty much soared right past them, beating on both the top lines and the bottom lines.
So where is all this growth actually coming from? Well, it turns out there are two key engines that are just firing on all cylinders and fueling this incredible momentum.
Okay, the first driver is their major push into the type 2 diabetes market. For the longest time, insulin pumps were really just for type 1, but Insulet is changing that whole game. And the personal stories like this one from a user named Vikas, they just show the profound, life-changing impact this is having on people.
And the data? Well, the data really shows just how successful this push has been. Look at this. In the last quarter of 2025, over 40% of their new U.S. customers were people with type 2 diabetes. And check out that other number. A staggering 85% of all new customers are switching from the hassle of multiple daily injections. So they're not just shuffling existing pump users around, they are fundamentally expanding the market. The second big driver is the massive runways they still have for growth. I mean, in the US, about 70% of eligible people use a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM. But only 40% use an automated insulin delivery system, an AID, like the Omnipod. That 30-point gap? That represents a huge, untapped market of people who are already monitoring their glucose and are totally ready for that next step. Okay, so that's the story of their recent success, but the big question for any company leading the pack is always, what's next? So let's take a look at their guidance for 2026 and what they've got cooking in their innovation pipeline.
For 2026, the company is guiding for another year of really strong growth, somewhere in that 20 to 22% range. Now you might see that and think, wait, that's a slight slowdown. And yeah, technically it is. But it's mainly because they're now competing against their own spectacular, blockbuster 2025 numbers, which just makes those year-over-year comparisons a lot tougher.
So how do they plan to keep that momentum red hot? Well, their answer is a super clear and ambitious innovation roadmap. They have major launches planned for each of the next 3 years, from a new data platform to the next-gen Omnipod 6, and it all culminates in what they see as the absolute future of diabetes care.
And this, right here, is that future. Insulet is defining the fully closed-loop system as a truly hands-off experience. Just imagine a device that manages insulin automatically without you needing to do anything for meals or make any adjustments. This is the holy grail they're aiming for, especially when it comes to simplifying therapy for the much broader primary care market.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground, from a decade of solid growth to the nitty-gritty of their earnings and their big vision for the future. So, what's the most crucial point to take away from all of this?
Well, according to Insulet's own CEO, the market might actually be underappreciating 4 key pillars of their success. It's not just one thing. It's the combination of a head start in tubeless tech, a massive sales force, the incredibly complex ability to manufacture tens of millions of these high-quality pods, and a rock-solid balance sheet. It's this whole package that creates their deep competitive advantage.
And all of this leaves us with one final, really fascinating question. Insulet is clearly in the driver's seat. They're converting new users, they're expanding the market, and they have a clear plan. But in the hyper-competitive world of medtech, the pressure is always on. The real challenge ahead will be to execute on this ambitious roadmap and innovate fast enough to not just lead the market, but to keep defining it.